morning. Yes, it is. Good to see you guys jumping on. Good morning, good morning, good morning. We'll give everybody about a minute or so, and then we're going to get into our topic for this morning. Why some prophetic people struggle with relationships. And it's not just for prophetic people. If you are creative, if you are marked, if you're multifaceted, these are things that I have seen over and over. And I taught this maybe 2 years ago. And I think that it's so important that anybody that the Lord has called to do anything creatively, prophetically, artistically, master these things that we're going to talk about today in your relationship. So if you've got best friends, if you've got girlfriends, boyfriends, husbands, wives that are creative, that are prophetic, that are multifaceted, this is going to help you and it's going to help them. So make sure that you share this with your followers so that it can be a blessing for them as well. So I didn't go live last week. I was traveling, went and spoke at New Life in Chicago on Thursday night. That was a great honor. It's really great. Was in DC for a fundraiser. And so it's good to see you guys. I hope you're having a good summer. All right, for the sake of time, I'm going to jump right into this and we'll share this as a post so that, people always like to go over my lists and all of that. But these are some reasons why prophetic, multifaceted, gifted people struggle in their relationships. So, the first reason is the struggle to be honest about how they feel and who they are due to the fear of rejection. So, anybody who creates, anybody who speaks on behalf of God, the first thing that they've got to kill and they've got to destroy is the fear of man. Because when you struggle with the fear of man, you're always going to create, you're always going to speak with the hopes that people are okay with what you're saying, with what you're doing, with what you're speaking. And that's going to limit your ability to speak clearly and boldly or create the best way that you can create. And so when people are gifted, when they are prophetic, when they are creatives, they have to heal from the fear of man. If not, when they get into relationships, they are not able to clearly communicate what they need, what they feel, because they don't want to be rejected. And so what they do is a lot of times they will hold on to things, they won't process things, and then from nowhere, they'll have an eruption of sorts. Now, you have some people that are prophetic, creative, that are unfiltered because they too are not mature. So they don't know how to balance when to say something and when not to say something. And this is the thing, because there's all this talk out there about how prophetic people are and how prophets are. Anything that's negative is a connotation or an indication that that person is just immature. This is not true of all prophetic people. It means that they have not been developed, they've not been processed, they've not been matured. So the first thing you got to destroy is the fear of man, or it's going to prevent you to be honest, not only in your craft, not only in your skill set, not only what God is calling you to do, but also in the deep intimate relationships that your God is calling you to have, which you're going to need. All right. The second area in which prophetic, gifted, creatives struggle with is they do not filter what they have to say and come off too bold or too intense for others. And so this is the other side of the coin, right? So either they hold in things, they are worried about people's perspective, what people are going to say, and how it's going to go, right? And then on the other end, they do not filter what they say and they come off bold and they say stuff like, this is just how I am, right? Like this I gotta say it like it is, right? And because maybe once or twice they've said it like it is, and people said, hey, that was right, they think that it's okay. And so part of perfecting your gifting, part of perfecting your craft is learning how to master yourself. The issue with a lot of prophetic people, the issue with a lot of creatives, it's not that they're not gifted. It's not that they don't have a talent. It's that they haven't mastered themselves. They haven't mastered their emotions. They haven't mastered who they are. They haven't mastered how to deal with people. And so therefore, they're like, well, I don't get it why I don't have any friends. And then they make up an excuse and say stuff like, well, I'm in the cave, or I'm just too deep for them. They don't get me. And one of the biggest issues that you can have if you're prophetic, if you're gifted, if you're creative, is that you don't take ownership of yourself. And so part of what we do, the School of the Prophets, is in 3 weeks, is we do a lot of inner healing and a lot of development around your character before we go into whether or not you're a prophet, whether you're an apostle, whether or not you're a teacher. Because if we don't know how to manage ourselves, the very thing that our gifts build up, we can destroy. All right. And so we have to be very careful that we are learning that just because it works in one season doesn't mean it's going to work in another season. So some prophetic people will need to master their intensity. They need to master their boldness. It is not needed at all times. And people will say stuff to me like, oh, do I need to dumb myself down? Or do I need to? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Because you are in the ministry of people. If you are a creative, if you are a fashion designer, if you're a singer, you're going to have to work with other people. And if you want to succeed, if you want to move forward, you need to know when to speak up, when not to speak up. You need to understand your own strength and know when to restrain it and when not to restrain it. For those of you guys who are just joining us, we're talking about why some prophetic creatives, multifaceted, gifted people have a hard time in their relationships. And all my lives are saved on my YouTube. So those of you guys who are watching on Instagram, you can go back to my YouTube or my public Facebook page, and you can watch all of my teachings on there. The second thing that we see is that they are made for intimacy, and they confuse carnal intimacy for godly intimacy. Oh my gosh. What do I mean by this? Creatives, prophetic, they are made to be able to press really into the deep things of the spirit. Let me start with prophetic people before I go into creatives. We were made to walk one-on-one with God, to hear his voice. And so we long for deep intimacy. We long for deep connection. But when we're not trained, when we're not processed, when we're not matured, we confuse that, and we find ourselves with Bubba. We find ourselves with Betsy. We find ourselves having sex outside of marriage. We find ourselves being overly indulgent, whether it's in food, whether it's in clothing, whether it's in money, because we were made for intimacy. And as long as that hole is not filled, right, you're always gonna look for other things to fill that intimacy hole. And that's why I've been training prophetic people for over 20 years now. And literally I've been developing people since I was 20 years old, started having our School of the Prophets and our fivefold school over 8 years ago now. And so what we see is that a lot of times when they have not mastered true intimacy with God, they're going to look for pseudo intimacies. And so what happens is that it does not only derail their walk with God, and I mean, it does not only derail their life, because they will end up marrying somebody who's abusive just because they said they love them. They'll end up marrying somebody who is crazy just because they had a Coca-Cola shape. Whatever it is, it ends up derailing their destiny. It ends up derailing their gifting. It ends up watering down the purity. That's why prophetic people and artistic creatives have to be so mindful of their internal struggles, whether it's lust, whether it's addictions. All those things are things that the enemy tries to put in place to destroy, one, your intimacy with God. And if you're creative, I'm a creative, I write, I sing, fashion, all of that stuff, right? And so if you're creative, if your mind is boggled up, you cannot hear creatively. Like, you cannot create anything. And so this is an area in which the enemy is always coming after. And if people who are creative, who are prophetic, who are multifaceted don't master this, they're going to be derailed in their intimacy with God, because they're going to look for pseudo intimacies. The fourth one is that they do not heal from their past, which for some includes hardships, which then leads to toxic patterns. So I wrote a whole book called Marked. You can get it on Amazon. And it talks about how the enemy uses certain things in our past to destroy us. And usually, when you're marked, when you're set apart, when you have a prophetic calling, when you have a fivefold ministry calling, what the enemy is trying to do is use those hardships to help you define your future. And so in March, we talk about how do you know what God has marked you for? And then I wrote another book called Healing Your Past. And in it, it talks about how you heal from rejection, how you heal from shame, how you heal from your past. What happens with creatives, with prophetic people, with gifted people is that if they don't heal their past, it's going to shape how they view people. And so if you struggle with you being betrayed, right, which everybody gets betrayed, some fivefold graces a little bit more than others, what happens is that you think everyone's going to betray you. So then you become extremely suspicious, and then you cannot distinguish between the discerning of spirits or your suspicion. Right? Oh, she's a witch. No, 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 no. You just struggle with suspicion because you never healed. Right? Oh, I'm discerning that they're jealous of me. No, no, no. You're just insecure and you think everybody's jealous of you. And so every gifted person, every prophetic person has to go thorough processing so that you can be able to see this. That's why our school, our fivefold school that's coming up, is a full 5 days. We're teaching you guys for a full 8 hours every single day from 9 to 5, because I realize that a lot of people go through seminary, they go through Bible school, but they're not trained in their specific grace. What are the challenges of a teacher? What are the challenges of an apostle? What are the challenges of a prophet? And then how do you heal from them? I can teach anybody to prophesy, and at the school will activate you. You'll be able to prophesy. But then how do you handle going back home and you're still viewing people in a jaded way because you haven't healed your past, because you haven't walked through deliverance, you haven't walked through wholeness, right? And so this is so important because it shapes how you view relationships. It shapes how you view friendships. And so prophetic people, gifted people have to heal through that. The next thing is that they are unable to manage their emotions and encounters. Therefore, people feel overwhelmed by them. When people are extremely gifted, when people are extremely creative, what happens is that they want to talk about everything that they're seeing, right? I am seeing this. I see this in the future. I'm hearing this. I had this crazy dream. And then people are like, you are too much. You're intense, right? Let's say you're not prophetic, but you're more of a visionary. Maybe you have an apostolic calling or you're an apostle, and all you see is the future, and all you're talking about is the next project you're going to do and the next people you're going to build up, right? This can be very, very overwhelming for people who are not necessarily called in these fivefold graces. And so what happens is that they pull away, and then you feel rejected, right? Nobody gets me, nobody understands me. And so what needs to happen is that if you're gifted, if you're multifaceted, if you're marked, if you're prophetic, you get around people who speak the same language. You get around people who understand who you are. And obviously, I keep talking about the school because what happens is that you also get into a community of other people. We've had people who've attended our schools who are best friends now. They do ministry together, they travel together because they realized I was not so weird after all. It's not just me after all. But when people are gifted, when they're prophetic and they don't know how to manage their emotions, they don't know who to share their encounters with, and they don't know who to share their visions with, they can overwhelm the wrong people. The wrong people then pull back, and then they internalize that pullback as I am not worthy, I am not good enough, people don't get me, I might as well shut down, or they just, turn against everybody. Like I'm just a do me. I'm just gonna, whatever. But the truth is, prophetic people should have friends. Creatives should have friends. Marked people should be in relationships. They should be in communities. They should have healthy marriages. That's why one of my passions is to really help develop people holistically. If I wanted, I could prophesy on every live. I could teach about prophecy every day. But what does that do if your relationships are falling apart? You don't know how to manage your money. You don't know how to have good friendships. The Lord never gave you your gift to torment you. Write that down. The Lord never gifted anybody so that they're in a place of torment. They're in a place where they don't have friendships. They're in a place where they don't know how to budget their money. They're in a place where their gifts are so overwhelming to them. But the problem is that we're not willing to invest, right, in getting the right training, in getting in the right community, in the right development. And so we're like, well, we're going to figure it out ourselves, we and the Holy Spirit. And it takes longer to do it that way than it would. And this is just a little bit of an aside. When we look at our school, right? When you look at the price of the school, you're learning what it took me 20 years to learn in 5 days. Right. And so when people price things, and then this is just for the business people, and I want to free some of you guys who sell products and all of that. It's not just about the price of the product, it's about the process of developing the product. And so you want to make sure that when you get mentors, when you get coaches, they're accelerating your growth. When you get teachers, in 1 week, you're able to do what would have taken you 7 years. And so that's really, really important as well. So prophetic people have to be able to manage their emotions and their encounters. I'm going to give you guys, let's see, I think I'll finish it and then I'll take your questions. Their head can be in the clouds and in the future. They forget how to deal and care for those in the present. Oh my gosh, when prophetic people are immature, they see everything. Everything is a snake, everything is an angel, everything is this. The spirit is subject to the prophet. That means I don't ever have to sit there and say, oh, God is overcoming me. I don't know how to function. I'm always in the glory, right? I love the glory, but you cannot live in the glory. The glory is a place where you receive a deposit, and you can't carry the glory with you wherever you go. But what happens is that prophetic people are so in the clouds. Creatives are so in the clouds. Marked people can be so in the clouds that when they are around people, right, they forget how to deal and care for those people that are right in front of them. And so they end up not being good friends because they don't call people back. They end up not being good in relationships because they don't know how to communicate with people, and they would rather pray about everything instead of having a conversation, right? It's easier for them to be in the presence of God and then in the presence of people. And so they have to work on fine-tuning their people skills so that they can actually have healthy relationships and healthy people around them. This is stuff that is learned. This is stuff that is developed. And this is stuff that we're going to help you work through in our School of the Prophets as well. And so they've got to be present. They've got to learn that they can turn things off. I'm always coaching people because they'll say, well, every time I go somewhere, I'm seeing stuff. You don't have to always see stuff. God didn't give you your gift to torment you. He gave you your gifts for a specific reason, and you have to be coached and developed and trained so that you know how to use it, so that you are flourishing in every area of your life. Number 7, we got 3 more reasons why some prophetics, why some creatives, why some multifaceted people struggle with their relationships. The 7th one is the enemy often entangles them in lust and pervert their true intimacy. And we talked about this when it came to relationships, that if we don't know how to develop intimacy with God, we're going to look for intimacy everywhere else. And so that's why he comes in. And if your wellspring is perverted, you're not going to see well. If you're struggling with pornography and you're a seer, those pictures are going to pop up from time to time, and they're going to contaminate your seeing realm. If you struggle with lust because you want to be held and touched, but you don't want to spend time in worship, right? You're going to look for people to counterfeit those areas. And so we see a perversion of true intimacy through other things. And we see this in musicians. We see these in artists. And the thing is, we were made to feel. We were made to feel what's in a room. We were made to feel. This is why I tell people in their 20s, young men, young women, find someone and get married. If you believe that you're called to ministry, find someone that loves God, that loves you, and get married. There is no need for you to be 40, 50, 38 and you're in the streets and you're now fighting with your flesh and you're fighting with all these things. Some people don't like this kind of teaching. They want us to just go over, oh, you want to make sure that you have, and I have all books on marriage. I have a whole books on how you identify the one and how you discern all of that. But we're in a culture where we're like, if it happens, it happens, but yet you're struggling with secret sin and you're not able to move on with your calling. You're not able to move on with whatever God has called you to do because you're not willing to look for someone and make a decision to be committed. right? We have built up all these ideas. Oh, they need to be like this. They need to be like that. No, they just need to love the Lord their God with all their heart, soul, and mind. They need to love you with all their heart, soul, and mind. Yes, you need to be going in the same direction, but all those other things can be worked out. All right. And so you want to deal with that. The enemy will always come after the gifted in the area of intimacy, because that is how we hear God to create. That is how we hear God to push things. And you want to guard that area. Struggles of prophetic people, of creatives, the desire to be normal causes them to settle for people who do not understand them. When people are different and they're unique and they're set apart and they're marked, oftentimes the struggle of finding the right people causes them to dumb themselves down or settle on being mediocre because they just want to be understood. Everybody wants to be understood. It is the plight of every human to be known and to be understood. But you have to understand that if you are marked, if you are prophetic, if you are creative, it is better to wait for your people than to just settle for anybody, whether it's friendships, whether it's ministry, whether it's whatever. Once again, I will say, get in prophetic communities. Join us at the School of the Prophets. Join us during that week, because you will meet people who are just like you, and you will realize that I don't have to just be something I'm not because I want to be understood, because I want to be normal. And the sooner you can realize that you were never meant to be normal, you were meant to be marked, you were meant to be different, you were meant to soar, you were meant to walk with God in a unique way, the freer you're going to be able to live out the call of God on your life. Two more and we're done. They are living from a place of pain and confusion and not healing and direction. So what does that mean? When people struggle with relationships, it means that they haven't healed and they don't have clear direction. And so one of the things that creatives, prophetic people need to do is they need to develop a clear identity. They need to be very clear who they are as a son. And so, what happens when people are gifted or creative, the church will take their gift, they'll take their creativeness and give them a stage and a platform. And while they're performing and while they're prophesying, they're celebrated. But then, when that season is over, that person feels like they've been dumped. They feel like they've been used because they got their identity from their gifting and not from their purpose. And so, one of the courses during the fivefold school is all about sonship. It's all about growing in identity. It's all about healing who you are. If you can't make it online, on site, guys, I would encourage you to make it online. The price for the online school, you're going to get to keep those recordings, right? And so you get to watch them over and over and over. But you've got to develop your identity as a son first. And before you allow people to give you a platform or give you opportunities, because when you don't, you're going to live in a place of confusion and lack of direction. And then the last one, the enemy convinces them that they are too strong, too strange, too weird to be loved. So they attract what they believe they are worth. All right. So when you don't heal, when you don't deal with these lies of the enemy, the relationships around you, whether it's leadership, whether it's platonic relationships, whether it's intimate relationships, are going to be based on what you think you're worth. And so if you think you're too weird, I remember the several guys that I dated before my husband came, they'll say, no, you're too intimidating. You're too prophetic. You're too creative. You're too this, right? And so I was like, well, but the areas that you're saying I'm too this, they're great. They glorify God, right? So I'm not going to change that. But a lot of us do that. And then we, to appease the masses, and then we end up in relationships that derail and destroy where we're supposed to be going. All right. So I'll take a couple of questions. You want to put a hashtag Q in your questions. And I want to just encourage you guys to join us for the School of the Prophets. This is just icing on the cake. Not only do we go into relational stuff, we go into how you operate and the different types of prophets and how to navigate, but we also have the school for the whole week. You can watch it online or on site. The link is in the bio or in the description. Next week, July 30th, the payment plan is over. So if you know you need a payment plan in order to be able to attend, this is going to change your life. Go ahead and utilize that. Pray about it. Ask who can help you so that you can be developed and you can go to the next level. This live will be on my YouTube and on my Facebook. You can find it there. I purchased the online version of the Fivefold School. Will we get a recording of the daily events? Yeah, so the school is live. So you're going to be put in a group and you're going to watch it live. If you're at work, you're going to come home, and I don't know how you're going to watch 8 hours of teaching, but you'll be able to watch it later, and you'll have up, we're going to give you unlimited time or a week up after the school is over to be able to watch it. So you have access to that. How long do the recordings stay up? Yeah, you will have time. You will have time. My team was actually saying if you register for online or register for the whole school, we'll just give you access to all the recordings for a lifetime. So that's something that we just decided. You'll be able to access that. So if you've paid for the whole school and you're going to be on site, we're also going to give you the online, not for the School of the Prophets, because that's just 3 days. But if you are online, you will get access to those to be able to watch them, because I know that some people have to work, and so you'll need a little bit more time to be able to catch up. It's intense. It's 8 hours of teaching, or about seven, because we do ministry, we do worship, we have lunch. So it's about 6 hours of teaching, different teachers as well as myself. And so you will be able to have access to those as well. All right. What are the dates? They're August 7th through the 12th in Raleigh, North Carolina. What are some of the books to start with? In regards to what? You can start with the books that I've written, right? You can start with Marked, you can start with Healing Your Past, and then you can go to my website, askdrfaith.com. We have a book tab, and you can check that out. If you're joining us for the Fivefold School or the School of the Prophets, we're getting ready to email you a whole book list. Some of the books we're going to use during the course, some of them you are going to read on your own. So you will get that email. We're going to send you guys emails this week on all that information. How can I be comfortable with rejection since it has a purpose? You just make a choice, right? When people reject you, you just say, okay, I wasn't for them, right? I wasn't for them. For somebody else. I bless them and I move on. And it's okay if it hurts, but just give it to the Lord and allow God to use it for something. All right. When you say to get in prophetic communities, how do you know it's the right community for you? Well, you want to be clear about your goals, right? So if you're growing in your prophetic gift, you need a place where they teach on prophecy, where you can practice, right? So for us, we don't teach on that on Sundays, but we have a whole school at our church that people can go through, learn how to pray and all of that. Obviously, if you're part of another church, join a paraministry, attend a school, and it's what's for you is unto righteousness brings peace and it brings joy. I've been following you for years and feel compelled to sow into your ministry. Will you please provide information for sowing a seed? Thank you so much, Tiffany. Thank you so much. So you can sow via Cash App at Faith Wolkoma. Make sure you see my picture, or via Zelle at fwolkoma at askdrfaith.com. I'm putting it in the chat so you can do that. Thank you so much for sewing. That's one thing you ain't never gonna see. You're not gonna see no Cash App link on my videos, right? But if you ask, I'll give it to you, and I truly appreciate it. Um, does being born out of wedlock have an effect on the prophetic journey? Do we need to break those curses? So once again, in my book Marked, I really talk about some of the things that give you a clue that you're actually prophetic, you're marked, you're set apart. And some of it is being born out of wedlock, but it doesn't mark. It's part of your journey. It's not a curse, right? It's about you embracing the situation in which you came from and saying, God, how do you want to use this, and how do you want to move forward? All right. Good to have you on from the Philippines as well. Let's see. Why can't I trust anyone or anything? Only God. I feel it hinders me. Well, at some point, maybe trust was broken, and you got to get to the root of when was trust broken and why can't I trust? You got to do the inner work, right? And so that's a process that you need to go on and figure out, where did that come in, where did that lie come in, where did that spirit enter in, and then you need to come out of agreement with it and begin to do the work. Will the school be held again in 2023? No. So this school is only every 2 years. And I'm actually I don't know if I'm going to do it in 2025. This might be the last year that I do it. I have so many other projects and things that we want to do. And so as we're looking at this school and we're trying to decide, this might be the last year that we do it. But if we do it again, it's going to be in 2025. We do it every other year. I've been discipled by you online for years. I know you've talked about planting in MIA Any other ways for those of us not in AC to gather and fellowship with others under your leadership? Yes. So we have an online campus. We have an online church. It's called Legacy O. If you go to Facebook and just search Legacy O, you'll be able to join that group. If you're interested in membership in our church, you'll let them know in there, and we'll put you through our growth track. We'll put you through our inner healing, and you will have a team that helps advise you, that helps take care of you online. So we do have that online. If you have a ministry and you want to be under our ministry network, we have a ministry network, which we don't market, but it's called the Legacy Leaders Network. You can email LLN at legacycenterchurch.org, and that's an opportunity to be developed as well. I've ordered your books, but I can't access the ebook. Just email us at support@askdrfaith.com. It's a link that you click, you download it onto your computer. All right. Is hypersensitivity of ears other senses of gifting? No, I mean, the Lord can speak to you through your whole body, right? So you may sense in your fingers, you may sense in your ears, you may sense in your body, and it's just a way that God may be trying to give you something to discern. Is it offered more than once a year? No. Regarding covenant friendships, have you ever had friends where you had to remove from them and they came back or was reintroduced? How do you know when you have found your tribe as a prophet? So those are two different questions. Have I had friends? I was removed from them. I mean, the only friendships that didn't work out is either we just went in a different direction or there was a disagreement that we couldn't resolve, right? And so, as a believer, your heart should always be open and your hand should always be open to reconcile in your friendships. And if you have forgiven and they have changed and the friendship can be healthier, definitely do that. How do you know you found your tribe as a prophet? Well, if you're a prophet, then you know the peace of God and you know the voice of God. And so if you go into a place, you're going to feel the peace of God and you're going to feel the voice of God. If you're developing in that, right, you need to look for the fruit of the people that you're calling your tribe. Is there love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, and self-control? How do they handle people? How do they work through things? Those are things that you would need to work on. All right. How to know if you're prophetic. So I've taught on that several times. You can check my previous YouTube videos. Just search my name, prophetic ministry. You'll find a lot of videos. Did Deborah have a prophetic gift or called to be a prophet? I think that's who God has called me to be. Deborah was a prophet, and I would say that she was an apostolic prophet, but it tells us that Deborah was a prophetess, right? And so that's very clear in scripture. All right. What if you're prophetic, you desire marriage, but don't seem to have options? Everybody has options, right? But you got to be open. And what you may be saying is that you don't have any suitors, right? So I'm going to pitch my other book, which is Journey to the Altar. Women need to learn how to position themselves to be pursued, men pursue. But there are ways for you to show your interest to a man if you are interested in them and they haven't started pursuing yet. Which reminds me, we have a whole singles retreat next February in Cancun, Mexico, that you can join us. We're going to be training the singles, not just on how to get married, but how to live your best life now. But it's not that you don't have any suitors. It's you may like someone, but you need to learn how to properly position yourself so that they see you, so that they can possibly see if this is something that could work. All right. If you haven't had a chance to, if I missed your question, please repost it. I may have missed it. Good, 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 good. Okay, good. Awesome. I think we're nearing the end of our questions here. For confirmation of things, because, okay. How will I know if I have a prophetic gift? Like I said, I have a lot of teachings on this. So please watch my previous videos because I don't have time to go into that right now. Obviously, we have our school that's coming up. You can join us online if you're in a different country, and we will work through all of those things. What if a married couple both have clues in their life that they're both marked? One knows, but the other doesn't. Well, they need to work through figuring that out. And in my book, Marked, I actually have a whole section on how to know why you were born and your purpose and all of that. So you both may need to read the book and work through that. How long does the online recording stay up? So glad I sewed into this ministry. My mentor referred you to me and to DTA. Awesome. Thank your mentor that I said hi. The online recordings for the school, if you, it's going to be up until a week, most likely longer than that. And then my teachings are always on my YouTube or on my Facebook. When are you coming to South Africa, Cape Town? We are coming in 2024 in July. And so we will let you guys know where we're hosting things and all of that. But we are coming to Cape Town. We're coming in Johannesburg, and we look forward to being back in Africa. Can you deny your calling? Yes, you can say no to your calling. Are relationships harder for prophetic people? They're not harder, but like as I have taught today, there are reasons why we make them hard, right? And so we got to work through those things so that they are not as difficult. And the quicker you mature, the better relationships you have. The quicker you learn who you are and how you're wired and how you function, the better you're gonna function. God says he's gifting me with prayer ministry. Does that mean I need to start off right after receiving the prophetic word, or I need to wait? Well, are you already in a prayer ministry, right? Are you serving somewhere? What does that mean, right? Because all of us are gifted with prayer, right? But are you supposed to start a prayer ministry? Those are things that I will talk to your pastor about and see how you navigate that. When are you coming to Miami? I don't know if we have it on the books, but one day soon. All right. My lives are saved on my YouTube and on my Facebook page. I'll save it on Instagram as well, but you'll find them there for sure. If your church doesn't operate in the five gifts, but you operate in the gifts, what do? Go somewhere and get trained and go back to your church and be a blessing, right? You find books, find schools like the one that we're having, like go get trained and go back there. Now, some churches, they're like, we don't want you to be trained anywhere else. So then that's between you and God. You got to figure out how you're going to manage that. Um, are you coming to New York? I believe we are. I don't know my dates. But I usually start sharing my dates when it's getting close. So I know that I will be in Mobile, Alabama, August 19th, and I will be teaching there for a conference on Saturday. So I know that for sure. All right. How do I flow in my gift as a prophet? Join us for this school. I have videos for it, but this is something I cannot just, break down in one area. There's all kinds of prophets. There's all kinds of ways that prophetic people flow, how they hear, how they see, all of that. And so you got to know which kind of prophet you are. You got to know the type of ways God communicates with you. And then from there, you go from there. I'm a prophetic intercessor, and yes, I lead the church prayer ministry. Yeah. So you already have one. Will online attendees get chances to participate? Ask questions. You'll be able to ask questions, but you won't be able to get prayed over. I won't be able to lay hands on you and prophesy or anything like that. You'll be able to watch and go through the deliverance from your house, but we won't be able to necessarily be able to pray over you because you're online. But our team will take your questions and we'll be able to answer those as well. Please go to the Philippines. I would love to come to the Philippines one day soon. All right. I haven't thought about Oklahoma or Colorado, but if the doors open, we will come there for sure. If you deny your calling, you will not live in the fullness of what God has for you. Someone said, is there a consequence for denying your calling? You just won't be able to live in the fullness of what God has for you. Do you go other places in NC? Sometimes. I think in September, someone is having an event literally down the street I'll be speaking at. So yeah, if people invite me to go there, I will. Yeah, in North Carolina, I go. Yeah, I've been to Atlanta. Whenever opportunities open and it works with our schedule and with what we do, we go and I'll speak. So I'll try. Just follow my pages. Turn on your notifications, and you'll be able to see where I'm traveling. How do you deal with mean girls, evil women? In the church. Why are some women wired this way? So I bless them, right? Scripture says, bless those that curse you, bless those that speak evil of you. I don't stay in a relationship with them because that's not my vibe, right? Like, I don't want to be around somebody like that, but I also don't give you too much attention. You're mean because you're probably offended, because you're hurt and you're broken. And so I'm going to bless you and I'm going to move on. The UK, yes, we were there in 2018, 2019, then the pandemic hit. We will be coming back to London, and we're going to put that in the schedule in 2024. Do you know why while praying the earring, have you experienced that? I have, and it could be deliverance. It could be the Lord speaking to you, and you need to ask him, God, what are you doing in this moment? How do you join the online school? It's the same link. So you go to fivefold, bit.ly fivefold school, and you can sign up for the School of the Prophets. You can sign up for the whole week, or you can just sign up for the online school. Do you have to attend school or be ordained to be qualified to work in ministry? It makes sense to get the training we need. No, you don't. You don't have to go to seminary, right? But some denominations require it. But you should know the Bible well. You should know your calling, your giftings, all of those things if you're going to be in ministry. Are there possibly any sponsorships for the School of the Prophets Week? I have not had anybody say, hey, Dr. Faith, we want to give you some money so that you can give out scholarships. So as of right now, nobody has offered any sponsorships, and we can't offer any as well because we're paying for things, right? We got to pay for your lunch every single day. We got to pay for the speakers that are coming in. We got to pay for the flights. We got to pay for the venue. So there isn't any extra money to just give away scholarships. Let's see. How much is the conference in Mobile? I don't know, but I'll get that information up on my website. You can go to my Facebook. I shared about that conference. All right. Okay. What do you need for an invite? You can just email our team at booking@askdrfaith.com. Doctor is spelled out, and they will tell you how to schedule me to come wherever you are. All right. Bless you guys. Do you contact your church's deliverance ministry? I know two people interested. So my church's deliverance ministry is not taking any outside deliverance appointments right now because they are full. They're backed up all the way until September. So I told our deliverance team they cannot take any more outside people right now. So our team is not, but I know other ministries that do. You may want to check with Pagani or with Beverly Tucker or Ivory Hopkins. Those other ministries also do that. All right. Bless you guys. I look forward to talking with you soon. Some pastors have used training as a manipulation tactic to keep people stuck in churches, and I've attended ministries like that, unfortunately. Yeah, the good thing is that you always have the right to pick up and go, right? Nobody can make you stay anywhere. Nobody can make you do anything you don't want to do. You got to have the courage to move on if you don't feel like it's right. All right. Same thing. If your face is tingling during worship or prayer, it could be the presence of the Lord coming upon you. Awesome. I look forward to chatting with you guys soon. We'll go live again soon and talk to you when we can. Since you're not currently providing one-on-one mentoring, is there anyone else in your team you can refer me to for one-on-one? We have a counselor on our team that provides counseling, not mentoring, and you can sign up for that. You can email our team at info@askdrfaith.com. They will send the counselors information and you will work with them on that. All right. Good. Awesome. Talk to you guys soon. Blessings. Good to see you, Pastor B. Talk to you guys soon.